Adam, what a beatdown in the Smith Center. Now, it was an exhibition. Carolina should win heavily over Johnson C. Smith. Hubert Davis talked with me. You were sitting in there when I talked to him after the game, and he basically said, after about 8 minutes, this was a competitive game. Johnson C. Smith had hit some tough shots, but they were hit. I mean, look, in college basketball, guys hit tough shots now. And Hubert Davis basically said that he told his team, like, we got to do a little better defensively here, guys, or this isn't going to cut it. And it felt like Carolina really ramped up the defensive pressure. I feel like the second half it got a little it was like an AAU game at times, right? Like it was just like, we're going to do the half-court trap and take it away from – not that the Tar Heels were doing that. I'm comparing this to an AAU game. We're just going to take it from you and then go dunk it. But more so to me, Adam, that second half of the first half when the Tar Heels – the game was still somewhat competitive. Carolina really ratcheted up the defensive pressure. They stopped allowing Johnson C. Smith to really get many rebounds. And you're going to get tired of us saying this during this season. It's going to come down to those two things for Carolina, defense and rebounding. Carolina can score. When Carolina gets out and runs, I firmly believe they're as good as anybody in the country in that. They have pieces to score in the half court. It comes down to defense and rebounding. They turned those things way up at them after about the first 8 or 10 minutes of this game, and that's why this went from an exhibition that you thought, well, Carolina's obviously still going to win, but it's a little closer than I want it to be, to you win by 64 points.
64 points? You scored 127. I mean, it doesn't matter who you're playing. If you score 127, you are a potent offensive team. So I do think that's a good sign. I think you could clearly see the examples of all the talking Hubert Davis has done about pace. You can see why he wants Carolina to do that, because they're good at playing. They have the pieces to really play well if they play at that tempo. And that can mean a variety of things, but they're good at a lot of them. I mean, they've got really good finishers. Ian Jackson, a better finisher than certainly I realized when he got here.
I was going to say than I am. I was like, yes,
well, yeah.
He is a better finisher than you are. I agree.
Drake Powell, obviously R.J. Davis can. Elliot Cadeau is better than I think he gets credit for. Seth Trimble. It's incredible. It's incredible to think about Seth Trimble as a freshman who was capable of getting to the rim on all those plays, but would usually fall down and either lose the ball or something would happen, to now he just gets to the rim, puts it in the basket. Like, he's a scorer.
Boy, that one move where he stepped through the guy and brought it way down, scooped up, that was a big-time move.
And he's going to play taller, more athletic players who maybe even have close to his level of athleticism. But you can't deny the improvement. And you also, when we check in with Hubert Davis, I want to make sure to talk to him about this, so you remind me.
Coming soon, checking in with Coach Davis.
Remember when he was hired and he talked a lot about player development?
Mm-hmm.
R.J. Davis and Seth Trimble. And I think pretty soon
Washington.
You can add Jalen Washington to that list. They appear to be textbook player development examples. And so I want to know from him how that happened, because I really do think you can see it. But, I mean, the Tar Heels were fun to watch. Everybody did something good. Yes, it was Johnson C. Smith, but you saw what you needed to see against Johnson C. Smith.
Carolina had 7 guys finishing double figures in this game, 54-24 on the glass, 20 assists on 45 field goals, 9 steals, 6 blocks. I mean, it was one-sided. 72 points in the paint for Carolina. Adam, just 3 individuals real quickly. First, the freshman duo of Ian Jackson and Drake Powell. We're in the world now and have been for a long time where people know about all these highly rated recruits before they get to campus. They've known about Carolina fans who are interested in that area, have known about Ian Jackson for a long time. I still think Ian Jackson's got he's a little raw still, but the talent is really high. We can all see it. Much better for him to not take every single shot from three-point range like he did against Memphis. You talked about his ability to finish. He, of course, had that like windmill kind of dunk in transition. That was impressive. He had the dunk where he tried to – I mean, it would have been an all-time dunk had it gone in. I don't know the chances of it actually going in. Like, if he tries this dunk 100 times, he might make it once or twice. That's how far away he was. I'm glad he didn't get hurt because he took a nasty fall. You can see the talent. And then there are so many Carolina fans who, if they don't already, they are going to by the end of the season. They're going to just love Drake Powell. But, Dean Smith would have liked that play. Yeah, he looks like Tommy Lagarde looked back in 1976. Drake Powell is just somebody that he is such a smart player, such a versatile player. He plays the way that everybody said they played back when they played in high school. You got to grab that ball with two hands, son. Like, he's that guy. He just, 8 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, a steal, no turnovers. Come on now. Danny Green, Theo Pinson, this is Drake Powell. Like, he is in that mold of that type of player, just this uber versatile guy who maybe to me, he's Theo Pinson and Danny Green, great players. Danny Green, incredibly accomplished career. As a freshman, Drake Powell seems a little more advanced than those two guys. Obviously, again, they were both incredible Tar Heels, national champions, pro guys. He feels in that mold and maybe even a little more advanced at this point of his career.
Especially considering we're talking about someone who has played 0 official
two
college
exhibition games. Right.
It's not like we're sitting here in February. So I think there's a long runway there, even for this season, even for like the pre-conference season. The Drake Powell of January 1st going to Louisville is going to be very different than the one we saw this past weekend. But, yes, and the thing about Ian Jackson is I don't really think, and again, he's played 0 games that count. I don't really think he's played a great game yet. Like, he scored 21 points and was the high scorer on the team, but we've seen him be better than what everyone else has seen in various pickup games and practices, where he just looks a little more, maybe fewer turnovers.
Yeah, he did have 3.
A little better shot selection. And he's capable of more than what you saw on the day he was scoring 21 points and having the 2 plays that most electrified the crowd, the missed dunk and the made dunk. And then he said after the game he's got a better dunk than the windmill that he's going to bring out at some point. So get ready for that. I want to know what Tyler said when Ian Jackson tried to dunk on that guy, because that reminded me of something Tyler would do.
Then we're talking about Tyler Hansbrough, who's the analyst on the radio for this one.
Baseline jumper, no good. Here comes Carolina on the run. RJ, long pitch ahead to Jackson. Oh, my goodness! Jackson almost with an all-time poster dunk. The foul is called on Javon Anderson. Jackson did not finish, but I'm telling you guys something. We were inches from an all-timer in the Smith Center. Holy smokes.
He gave it such a loud, oh, that it cut out the microphones. Legitimately. Like, our equipment fried for a second because he was so stunned that Ian Jackson tried to make this play. I asked him, I think off the air, I said, that reminded me a little bit of that dunk. I should have said the one against, Oklahoma or Gonzaga. But I said the one in remember that little Iona dude who tried to jump up with Tyler Hansbrough that time? And Tyler Hansbrough, that was one of the worst dunk-ons I've ever seen. I think I have that one. If I have that one, Adam, I will put that audio in here. So, impressive.
But also, you mentioned Oklahoma, the time he tried to dunk on Blake Griffin. And he just decided, I am now going to dunk on Blake Griffin. Now, he didn't make it.
Or come anywhere close.
Much like this one. Or the Kenny George play.
He did dunk on Kenny George. Adam, the other individual I want to mention was Vinon Lubin. this is my impression of Tar Heel fans' opinion on Vin Allen Lubin. And this is not, I'm not saying a majority of Tar Heel fans, I just think some that are loud out there. A lot of people seem to want to focus on what Vin Allen Lubin isn't instead of what he is. And what he was in this game was uber efficient, uber active, and productive. 18 points, 12 rebounds in 21 minutes of play. I thought he was Carolina's most active. Well, the stats tell you he was Carolina's most active rebounder. Carolina is using both Vin Allen Lubin and Jalen Washington a lot in those high screen and rolls, and they've got guys who are good passers, most notably Elliot Cadeau, who can find guys in tight windows. He didn't catch every one of them, but he did a nice job catching some of those passes and finishing in traffic. If you put Vin Allen Lubin on paper, he is not the ideal size. He is not the ideal weight. He is not the ideal whatever. But he is productive, and that's valuable.
It's tough because I do think it felt like you walked out of the Smith Center on Sunday thinking, ooh, Tar Heels are going to be pretty good.
Right, and then it's Johnson C. Smith.
And you had to kind of remind yourself, like, Johnson C. Smith was an opponent built exactly for this type of Carolina team that'll miss some shots eventually, which allows Carolina to get out and run. Don't have a big guy that you have to guard or box out, which eventually you're going to have to do. And so I just have to remind myself, just chill out a little bit. But Lubin's a great example. And I think his mindset is such that I don't think he cares that people are going to talk more about RJ Davis and more about Ian Jackson and probably more about Drake Powell than they talk about him. As long as he gets to dunk every now and then and get some rebounds and he hit the offensive glass, he was around the rim a lot, which is exactly what Carolina needs him to do.
So Tar Heels win it big, 127-63. We are within a week of Carolina starting the regular season as they get started on Monday against Elon, 9 o'clock. We'll be there, and then Adam and I will have a pod after dark.